So hypergamy went from like a small concept study among monkeys to like a huge issue in the black pill space that people talk about a lot. And I stole these charts from this channel. This is like a big black pill channel. They talk about stuff like this a lot, where basically the idea is that the world went from this, where everybody matched up evenly, right? This is apparently how things used to be some X amount of years ago, and now it's more like this, where only a certain amount of people can compete. And what I want to talk about is that um, this is a bit over exaggerated because it doesn't reflect reality, right? When I say reality, I don't mean like my interpretation. I mean in the real world, right? Because Tinder is not the real world. It's not actually taking place where you meet people IRL. It's taking place on a dating app, right? And so it makes sense that people are going to be more selective. There are height filters, which obviously is very annoying and specific, and you are judging people immediately. And I think those things are frustrating. I think it's completely reasonable to talk about how dating apps are difficult. I just don't think that it is the end all be all of dating if that's something you still choose to participate in. I think that if you look at people in the real world, things turn out differently. So if I line up these people like I have lined up in either of these charts, it makes sense that a 10, whatever that means, would go for a very attractive woman, and a 1 would have a hard time dating. But if we zoom in a little bit closer, right, and I mean zoom in a lot, like let's go all the way, right? Let's look at people in the middle. You'll notice, and I did this on purpose, obviously, there's no real way to discern these two people. If this is an X and a Y, I'm not going to say a 5 and a 6, but this is an X and a Y. There's no way to tell them apart. And so the reality is that ignore that. The reality is that the same thing would apply to the women. How would they be able to tell which one of these are different? If somebody approaches you at maybe not a bus stop, that's not a good move, but if somebody approaches you at a bar or a club, which does happen, or even somewhere normal like a library, if barring and clubbing aren't your spaces, or you think those spaces are out of touch, uh, she won't be able to tell the difference between these two guys. Um, Even at the further ends, the difference between these two guys. I think that you get so obsessed with a number, like a 5 can only go for a 4 or something like that, that you forget that this is arbitrary. This is not a real thing. People do not walk around with the number 5 on their forehead. There's this Reddit called Rate Me, and people will go on there to try and get like an objective rating of themselves. But you forget that's still among a sample size of maybe, oh Jesus, I can't write right now, maybe 30 people at most, where you're trying to compare yourself against a global average. And obviously there's subjective differences. People are going to find some things more attractive than other people. And I get that you're trying to get an objective average, like not that everybody thinks you're this number, but that the average person thinks you're this number. But you're not talking to the whole world. You're talking to one person at a time. You only need one person to find you attractive, right? So I don't want you to get hung up with this concept and think that dating is impossible if you're X number, because A, it's impossible to tell what exactly that number is, and B, it's impossible for other people to tell what that number is too. So, anybody can date anybody.